Hello boys, TheSuffolkRam here from my nerds. Welcome to my review of Doctor Who New Year's Eve Special 2021, Revolution of the Daleks. Some minor spoilers ahead in this review, so if you don't have anything spoiled, turn off now. So this episode is really kind of a sequel to the New Year's Eve special from a couple of years ago. It basically it starts off following on from when the New Year's special with the Dalek was found underneath, sort of rebuilt itself, put itself back together. This takes place where the Dalek was destroyed at the end, was being recovered, and while it's being recovered, we saw catch up from there. It's covered, it's put on a lorry, sent to be stuff done with it, and it gets intercepted and took away. It turns out that that it's been captured. The same guy who was making the spiders big, his team was captured, and they basically reverse engineer it and have basically started to market it as a drone prototype. The Doctor, still trapped in a prison as we left her back in March this year, which feels a lot longer than a year ago, not than a few months ago. It feels like years ago, but that's where we left her. She's still in the prison, and she is going to basically stuck in prison. Yaz, Ryan, and Graham are still on Earth, and they're basically starting to make do without the Doctor. Ryan and Graham have sort of moved on a bit. They seem to sort of like given up hope that the Doctor's going to come back. Yaz, however, hasn't given up hope and is still working the TARS that was left behind and concentrating on that and trying to sort of find the Doctor. So yeah, it's sort of tying up several loose ends actually. It's sort of ending the cliffhanger from the last one. I quite liked the fact that it didn't. Sometimes Doctor Who, when it comes to cutting up sort of cliffhanger and so forth, tends to resolve them very quickly, and this has always been the case with lots of episodes. The cliffhanger happens, next episode comes round, and the situation resolved so quickly. Doctor's out of prison in like 2 seconds. This does sort of like, I think they could have done a bit more of the time in prison where she sort of build up and sort of build up what's going on, but that's basically a way of introducing the other recurring character who's been heavily advertised, Captain Jack Harness. He basically helps her get out of prison, and that's why he's back in the series, and this is the episode where he felt quite prominently. Yaz and Ryan, they obviously kept wind of the Dalek being here, so they go off and investigate it, and we basically get into the routine of the usual, corporates found something alien, they think they can make some money out of it, they make use of it, and they bite off far more than they can chew. It's actually I found it a very enjoyable episode. There's not so much. Chris Chibnall has a habit of being sometimes a bit, he likes to hammer those anvils and try and sort of like get across sort of the very special episode of Point of the Day and like, oh, isn't this such and such bad and so forth, and he's a bit heavy-handed with it. He got better than last season, but he's done a good job. He's just kept to a storyline. The story is quite succinct, it's quite sort of neat, it's nothing very complicated, but it's very well told, and it's very well told for an episode that's an hour and a quarter long. It flew by. I was very impressed. It was really very well paced. Very impressed. It's also an episode, and this isn't a big spoiler. It's been known about the press. If you've not been following anything, you wouldn't know about this, but most people should know about this. This is Ryan and Graham's swan song episode. This is where they leave the series. And it gets a little bit tree at the very end when he's back on his bike, and that's a little bit tree at the end, which I wasn't too keen on. Something happens to him both ways on his bike, and it's just like, I was a little bit like, okay, Chris, you've gone a little bit too far now. You were doing so well right to that last minute. Yaz is staying on, and Captain Jefferson is staying on. I can't remember if he left or not at the end. I honestly can't remember. I only watched it 5 minutes ago and I've forgotten. So Ryan and Graham left. I'm quite sad to see Graham go, actually. He was probably out of the three. He was actually sort of my favourite. Ryan, depending who was writing for him, depended how good he was. And sometimes he was quite well written, sometimes he wasn't so well written. And he was very hit and miss. Yaz, again, has similar issues. Some episodes she's quite written, others she's just like, what is she even doing here? So I'll be interested to see what they do. Perhaps now they've left. It's hinted at there's actually, if you watch the episode, there's actually a little sequence at the very end of the broadcast where they basically tell us who's going to be the next companion. It looks like going down to just like having 2 companions with the Doctor instead of 3. Obviously 2 means you get more airtime. I like having lots of companions in a series, but when you've only got 50-minute episodes, you haven't got enough airtime to spread amongst them all. So having down to just church companions actually should work quite well. So we'll look forward to seeing that more. But I have to say, I really enjoyed this episode. Very enjoyable evening episode, and yeah, can't wait for the series. We don't know what it's going to be, but I can't wait for it. So on to the cast. So Jodie's back, obviously as the Doctor. I don't know if it's going to be a fast series or not. I mean, traditionally Doctors do 3 series and they go. Even back in the classic series, that's fairly common practice. So this, in theory, should be her last season. But she's definitely grown. I think it very much depends on who's writing for her. Peter Capaldi has a similar issue actually. Some of his episodes were really poorly written. He was stuck, but he's actually, I thought, he's still my favourite Doctor of the recent years. But he was very stuck with writing, and he had some real strong episodes. Joe's had a lot of issues last 2 seasons where the writing has been that very good. It's been better than it's been. I think some cases been unfairly dismissed like the writing, although there have been some real awful episodes out there. So we'll see how they get on this year. I'm not a fan of Chris Chibnall's writing or star. I'm not a fan of him full out there. So we'll see how it develops over the next season. So like I say, we've still got Mandip Gill playing Yaz. I think they're definitely sort of pushing for her to be more of a companion now. You know, the fact that she wouldn't give up on the Doctor, that she's the most sort of probably most emotional reaction in some ways with the Doctor, interaction with the Doctor in some ways. Definitely building up for her being sort of the main companion in the series. I said she depends on who you're writing for. I said it previously. Bradley Walsh and Tosh Tosh and Cole both gone. Yeah, I'm sad to see Graham go. Bradley Walsh's character, I'm sad to see him go. He's probably the sort of most well-rounded character, but that just shows that because he's a more experienced actor comes through. And poor old Tosh is very much affected by who, again, same issues that Yaz had, who was writing for him. Some cases he's done quite well, some cases done quite well. Oh, I'm sorry about that noise. Captain Jack, John Barrowman makes a return and basically is playing Captain Jack. He's still a good character. He still has the energy. Obviously, he's looking a lot older now, but yeah, it's been 15 years since Captain Jack first appeared on the screen, so fairly. I think he's probably, out of all the modern casts, he's definitely probably the one who's been the most Doctors. I think he was definitely with, obviously, he was definitely with Christopher Eccleston, definitely with David Tennant. Don't think he was ever with Matt Smith. Was he? I think he may have been in an episode of People. I'm not sure. He's definitely been around for food. So he's probably sort of, it's nice to see him back, and he seems to be sort of a really caring character. Just comes back. He's a good character. He's a fun character. Everybody likes him. So nice to see him back. Chris North was back playing Robinson, the bad guy from a couple of seasons ago. Yeah, doing his usual bad guy American businessman routine that you see everywhere. There wasn't actually really many characters in the series. It's a very minor episode series, so it's actually quite, for it's an hour and a quarter, it's actually fairly contained. And it always works better when there's less characters in the episode to deal with. So on to production, written by Chris Chibnall, quite a well-written episode. Chris Chibnall is definitely a very hit or miss as a writer. He's just suffering from the writers where they insist on doing Of the Daleks. The amount of serials in classic modern where there always are the serials. I mean, I've got a list here. Power of the Daleks, Eel of the Daleks, Day of the Daleks, Planet of the Daleks, Genesis of the Daleks, Destiny of the Daleks, Resurrection of the Daleks, Revelation of the Daleks, Remembrance of the Daleks, Evolution of the Daleks, Fiction of the Daleks, Asylum of the Daleks, currently Revolution of the Daleks, and already mentioned Death of the Daleks, which is almost of the Daleks, but they changed 2 letters. So they love doing this noun, adverb, verb of the Daleks type thing, and can't seem to sort of get stuck out of that thing. There's only a few episodes that haven't been named like that. The new Dalek design, obviously based on the one we saw previous season. I still prefer, I say the classic design, but the design we see in the episode is actually from the back in the sort of 2005 when they revised its sort of design there. It's not quite classic, but it's very close to the classic design, so I want to call it the classic design. I kind of quite liked, but didn't like the new Daleks they had. I kind of liked them in certain ways. Very 80s. I thought actually quite 80s looking, to be honest. I thought their sort of shape and stuff, and I like the fact that the Daleks at some point insist they rebuild themselves with both blue and red LEDs, so it was obvious when they went evil. It's a nice feature they've put in. Apple did the same with all their products. They go red when they're evil. I like that sort of thing at the Daleks, but I still prefer the classic design, although the classic does now look quite dated. um, but I thought they looked alright actually, compared to the last when they were trying to revive the Daleks. Back in Victory of the Daleks, they tried to redo them then, which looked pretty darn awful. They've actually done a bit more of a reasonable job of this one. I mean, I know the Daleks in this one aren't Daleks because they are security drones and they are man-made, but they are, I think, a nicer design than what we've improved. So they definitely have. They feel like they're ripping off sort of the modern style of designing things. There's a little feature preview they put out there, which is clearly ripping on modern product design. But I quite liked it. Nice production, directed well, very well paced. Nice episode. So yeah, I thought it was quite well produced, this episode. So yeah, overall, I have to give this one a real good thumbs up. I really enjoyed it from start to finish. I like the storyline, I like the pace, I like the fact that it tied into not just the cliffhanger we had before, but actually a previous one, when normally that sort of cliffhanger ending is just gone into the ether, never seen again, just not worried about. This sort of ties to actually, perhaps this is what happens when, because Doctor's not good at tidying up after it. Him, herself, they're not very good at doing that. They tend to sort of just leave things, let others deal with it. And they sort of, so actually sometimes that's not a good idea to do. So I actually enjoy this one. I'm looking forward to the 2021 season. Like I say, it feels weird to think that not even been a year since Doctor Who was on the screens. But the last 2020's been a funny old year, and it has felt like a long time to go by. So it's going to be cool to see it back again. So I'm looking forward to Doctor 2021. We'll hopefully find out when that's going to be soon. So thank you very much for watching. I've been TheSuffolkRam. Hope you've enjoyed this review. If you have, will you consider subscribing to the YouTube channel. I'll be doing more reviews when the series comes out. I've also got past reviews in the last few series. I might even get around to do some classic reviews at some point. We also do podcasts on here. We also do a weekly game nights where you can watch me and a few friends where we basically fail at most computer games. So feel free to join us on that. You can join us on Twitch. So thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you when the season starts proper in, hopefully it's not too far future. Take it easy guys, have a good evening.